Good morning. I'm Edward Nelson Fell. My wife Ann and I bought 180 square miles of land in March 1910, land that Fellsmere is now situated on. After establishing the Fellsmere Farms Company, the company started to plat and develop 144 square miles within St. Lucie County, now Indian River County, as of 1925. By 1915, Fellsmere became a bustling, progressive town. All was well except when 8.8 inches of rain deluged the town, causing the Fellsmere Farms Company to go bankrupt in 1916. That was my last year in Fellsmere because I returned to my estate in Warrenton, Virginia, never to return. The development of Fellsmere became stagnant until 1925 when a land boom occurred in Florida. Droves of people from the north were purchasing land to come to the land of sunshine. Taking advantage of boom times, Louis Gold, the famous New York real estate developer and master builder tycoon, came to Fellsmere in March 1925 and bought 100 square miles of land. He incorporated the Fellsmere Estates Corporation in August 1925 and started construction of the Fellsmere Estates Corporation Administration Building by October 1925. This is the building behind me. The building was completed on Christmas Eve, 1925, just in time for Gold to host two jollification events for the residents of Fellsmere on Christmas Day. Gold's company advertised prolifically. The Fellsmere Chamber of Commerce booklet in 1925 had numerous advertisements for the Fellsmere Estates Corporation and heaped accolades upon Louis Gold for his future prospects for Fellsmere. Walter Seward, a longtime prominent resident and self-styled historian of Fellsmere, stated that the Fellsmere Estates Corporation did a big business. The large administration building on Broadway was the nerve center of town. The company had its own bus to bring in prospective buyers. An observation tower behind the administration building provided an excellent overview. Company cars provided tours over the properties themselves. The presence of the Fellsmere Estates Corporation in Fellsmere was short-lived. After the hurricane of 1926, the Florida real estate boom and real estate sales in Fellsmere rapidly declined. In July 1926, Louis Gold resigned as president of the corporation, but Frank Heiser, a well-respected businessman in Fellsmere, retained his position as treasurer and general manager. In addition to managing the Fellsmere Estates Corporation, Frank Heiser also served as the general manager and later vice president of the Trans-Florida Central Railroad from 1925 to 1931. Prior to that, he had helped organize the Standard Agricultural Chemical Corporation. In 1923, Frank Heiser organized the Ammonia Products Corporation. And in 1925, that corporation built a fertilizer plant in Broadmoor, 5 miles west of Fellsmere. The Standard Agricultural Chemical Company became the largest single landowner in Indian River County in the 1920s under Frank Heiser's leadership. By 1930, the Fellsmere Estates Corporation had all but ceased operations in Fellsmere. With real estate sales coming to an end, Heiser started experimenting with raising sugarcane in the rich, fertile soil of Fellsmere. In 1927, he planted a test crop of sugarcane that had good results. 2 years later, Heiser planted 100 more acres of sugarcane. The crop was so successful that he decided a sugar mill should be built in Fellsmere. Unfortunately, the stock market collapsed in October 29, which caused the Great Depression of the 1930s. People no longer wanted to risk losing their money in investments. Undaunted, Frank Heiser persisted and persuaded financiers to miraculously raise $1 million to construct a sugar mill. He incorporated the Fellsmere Sugar Company in December 1931 and established its headquarters in the Fellsmere Estates Corporation Administration Building right here. Next, Heiser dispatched a sugar engineer, T.B. Ford, to scout Cuba and Louisiana for materials to build a sugar mill. Ford found an old dilapidated sugar mill in Louisiana. After purchasing it, Heiser had it dismantled and shipped to Fellsmere on 57 railroad flat cars to the sugar mill site approximately 3.5 miles southwest of Fellsmere. Using materials from the abandoned fertilizer plant in Broadmoor and materials from Cuba, construction of the Fellsmere sugar mill began in May 1932. While the mill was being constructed, Heiser had 700 acres of sugarcane planted and readied another 700 acres for planting. After the mill was completed at the end of 1932, it started operating in early February 1933 and ran to April 7th of that year. During that time, the mill produced 2 million pounds of high-grade raw sugar while employing 225 people in a town that had only 356 people in it. There was no unemployment in Fellsmere. Frank Heiser, who was also the president of the Fellsmere Drainage District from 1925 to 1946, realized that good drainage was essential for the success of his cane fields. When the Fellsmere Drainage District ran out of funds for maintenance of drainage ditches and canals, Heiser moved the district office into the Fellsmere Estates Corporation building in 1933 and paid for the district secretary and treasurer. He also had the Fellsmere Sugar Company make many drainage improvements to ensure they would protect the cane fields. Not content with just making raw sugar, Heiser solicited more funds to construct a sugar refinery. Despite overwhelming odds and his investors thinking he was crazy, he was able to get money that he needed to build the refinery. First, though, he started the reorganization of the Fellsmere Sugar Company into the Fellsmere Sugar Producers Association in 1935. Construction of the refinery began in September 1935 and was completed in December 1935. During its first year of operation, the refinery produced 125,000 to 150,000 pounds of refined sugar daily under the trademark Florida Crystals. As a result, Fellsmere prospered. A year later, the association produced 6.6 million pounds of refined sugar. The Puerto Rican sugar producers purchased the association and all of its properties in 1943. Frank and his wife Stella left Fellsmere and moved to Jacksonville, Florida after the sale. Heiser's sugar mill and refinery remained the largest employer in Fellsmere for decades afterward. The South Puerto Rican Sugar Company purchased the Fellsmere Sugar Producers in 1963. 2 years later, it transferred its Fellsmere operations to Oak, Atlanta, and abandoned the Fellsmere Estates Corporation building. However, 2 of the original buildings at the mill have been repurposed but are still in use today by Sun Ag or Fellsmere Farms. The city of Fellsmere exchanged properties with the South Puerto Rican Sugar Company to obtain the Fellsmere Estates Corporation building and use it as a community center for Fellsmere. In 1968, the building became the Fellsmere Community Building. City council meetings were held inside, and the Fellsmere Police Department relocated to the building. The building also served as headquarters of the Treasure Coast Senior Services Congregate Meals Program and for regular meetings of the Hibiscus Grange. When the City of Fellsmere administration and police department moved into the old Fellsmere Public School in 1982, the city sold the Fellsmere Estates Corporation building. However, improvements weren't made and eventually major repairs were needed, so the city condemned the building. Rather than make the repairs, the owner deeded the building back to the city in June 1991. In October 1994, the City Council decided to abandon plans to restore the building and favored to demolish it. After Fran Adams heard of the plan, she bought the building at an auction in October 1995. The floors were damp, bird droppings from owls' nests inside were everywhere, no glass was in the windows, and they were all boarded up, and spider webs adorned every corner. Fran Adams jokingly referred to the building as the Fellsmere Planetarium, because when looking up at the ceiling, she could see stars through the cracks. Fran Adams' first order of business was to hire Fellsmere contractor Charles Hampton to shore up the walls to keep the building upright and intact and to repair the roof. She also had Vero Beach, Florida architect John Dean design a restaurant intent on preserving the historical character of the building. Fran named the restaurant Marsh Landing. Cap Custom Builders of Sebastian, Florida, finished the interior of the building using the original tongue and groove ceiling for wainscot around the interior walls and for the dining room tables. All the old doors were reused except for 2 back exit doors, and all new windows had to be installed because there were none. After spending approximately $500,000, Fran Adams transformed the old dilapidated building into a 125-seat family Florida cracker-style restaurant that served catfish, frog legs, gator tail, southern fried chicken, swamp cabbage, cornbread, collard greens, and much more. Marsh Landing held a grand opening extravaganza on November 13, 2002. The large aluminum sign in back of me with the words Marsh Landing Restaurant that hangs from the center of the porch was made by Fellsmere machinist Danny Emmons in 2003. The sign was designed by Fran's daughter Susan and was given to her mother Fran Adams as a gift. Marsh Landing Restaurant also serves as the de facto museum of Fellsmere inside the historic Fellsmere Estates Corporation building. The walls inside are covered with hundreds of historical photos of Fellsmere, old tools, musical instruments, citrus industry labels, animal hides, including a gator and a rattlesnake, stuffed animals, and trophy catches donated by patrons since the restaurant opened. The old safe deposit boxes from the State Bank of Fellsmere that closed in 1922 is found inside to the left of the front entrance. A bust of longtime Fellsmere resident Gilbert Barkowski, known as Cattleman of the Century, hangs on the wall behind the boxes. Copies of pages from the Fellsmere Farmer and Fellsmere Tribune newspapers protected by layers of lacquer adorn all the tables in the main dining room. Even the tables and chairs were made from wood from the original building walls and roof. In 2003, Fellsmere machinist Danny Emmons, who was a talented bluegrass musician, approached Fran to host a weekly bluegrass jam session at Marsh Landing. Fran agreed, and the result was a weekly Thursday night jam session. Musicians and bluegrass lovers from all over the Treasure Coast come to Marsh Landing. In season, people line up outside the restaurant 2-hour wait, hoping to join what owner Fran Adams calls the largest bluegrass jam in the South. In the back of Marsh Landing is a room dedicated to the annual world-famous Frog Leg Festival. The festival is held every year during the third week of January. In 1990, Fran Adams and several other Fellsmere residents met to discuss ways to promote tourism in Fellsmere and raise funds for Fellsmere's recreation department. When Fran Adams suggested the idea of having a frog leg dinner, people snickered and the idea was dismissed. When Fellsmere City Council member Luella Cosner asked the group's help to hold a winter fest in Fellsmere, the idea of a frog leg dinner was revived. That resulted in the first Frog Leg Festival held in January 1991. Frogs were caught by Fellsmere residents and the legs were cooked in fryers outside the old Fellsmere Public School. So successful was the first annual Fellsmere Frog Leg Festival that it has become an annual event thereafter. The Fellsmere Frog Leg Festival has also become world-renowned. In 2001, through the efforts of Sharon Anderson and the Fellsmere Entertainment Committee, the Frog Leg Festival received 2 certificates from the Guinness Book of World Records. 1 for the largest frog leg festival in the world, and 2 for the most frog legs sold within the space of a working day. In August 2001, Fellsmere Mayor Joel Tyson issued a proclamation proclaiming the recognition of 2 world records and designating Fellsmere as the frog leg capital of the world. When you visit Fellsmere and want to try old Florida cracker-style cuisine, stop in Marsh Landing and try dishes you probably never had before. It will leave you something to remember Fellsmere by and talk about when you leave. If you would like to know more about the history of the Fellsmere Estates Corporation building, Marsh Landing Restaurant, and the Fellsmere Frog Leg Festival, you can use your smartphone to read the QR code to access the City of Fellsmere website or use the city's website address as shown on the walking tour brochure.